Welcome to Caseback Watches. My name is Tim, and in this episode I'd like to speak about German watchmaking during World War II and today. And this is part one of this series. It will be a series, hopefully, and this is part one, Stowa. And first I'd like to speak briefly about the history of the manufacturer Stowa. Then I will show you a Stowa watch in the lightbox, a classic Flieger. After the lightbox, I want to address the moral issue, because every time I speak about German timepieces or inspired by German armed forces during World War II, what a sentence, then I receive emails and complaints about the moral issue, and I don't want to dodge this, so I want to address it after the lightbox. And so this is the program for this video. The company Stowa was established 1927 by Walter Storz, and he just made an abbreviation with his name, Stowa Walter Storz. Storz Walter was founded in the Black Forest in Germany. And 1935 the company moved to Pforzheim, which was famous for watchmaking, or let's say finer industries in those years, and I think even today. And so they've moved to Pforzheim. And the company back then was specialized in rather simple watches, rather inexpensive watches, of course in competition to Switzerland, to the Swiss manufacturers of high-end luxury timepieces. And I will speak about the models in a second, but let's jump now to 1940, World War II, and this was the year when Stowa received the first order from the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, to produce B-Uhren. And a B-Uhr is an abbreviation for Beobachtungsuhr, and this is German for observation watch. You can say observation watch to that type of watch. And this was quite a good business from them. They received movements from Unitas and produced large amounts of those watches. But of course the Allies realized at a certain point of time that Pforzheim was very important for the finer or more delicate industries in Germany. And so they attacked the city several times and destroyed nearly everything, and also the manufacturing facilities of Stowa were destroyed during those bombing raids. And after World War II they continued their business in 1945, and they linked to the past, and they produced again, let's say, normal watches for normal people. And they survived the quartz crisis. I mean, they've produced then quartz watches, cheap quartz watches, and since 1996 head of the company is Jörg Schauer, which is a brilliant watchmaker. He makes watches under his own name and, of course, as the CEO for Stowa. And so this, in short, is the history. Now let's speak briefly about the models, the famous models. And of course, a company with that history has a wide variety of watches. But there are clearly two outstanding lines for Stowa. The first one are those Bauhaus-inspired or real Bauhaus watches from the past. The most famous one is the Antea with those characteristic numerals. And the second watch, of course, is this. Is the B-Uhr, is the Beobachtungsuhr, is the observation watch for armed forces. And if you check out the homepage of Stowa today, everything is around those Flieger type watches. And I've contacted them for press images and material, very friendly. They were very busy on a watch fair in New York. And so you can see it, they have their customers all over the world now. Okay, and now let's go in the lightbox. Let's check this model, the Flieger Klassik 40. Okay, here we are with our Stowa watch. If you can see, this is the no logo version, so there's not a single hint on the dial which manufacturers made this watch. And I personally enjoy this. I find this in a way reasonable, because this is a tool watch. This was meant as a tool watch, and you don't want to have any information in any distraction on the dial. Perfectly legible. I mean, perfectly legible. There's no distraction at all. And so in my eyes, really, in a way, attractive watch. But let's go over the basic specifications now. This is a 40mm case, and this is historically, of course, not accurate. We're talking about 46 or 45mm, sometimes more, sometimes 55mm for the original watches for the Luftwaffe. So the diameter here, the 40mm, is a concession to modern times. This is if it comes to the dimensions, a very contemporary watch. The case length overall is 48, So again, very contemporary, and the lug width is 20, so very convenient watch. You can change the straps, and of course this cries for changing straps because it goes with several straps pretty good. And it's relatively slender, relatively thin. We're looking here at 10 millimeters. This is the automatic version. The hand-winding version is also available, is a little bit thinner even. I mean, it's a big watch, but it's not a massive watch. It's not a monstrosity on your wrist. But let's go back to the dial. You see this characteristic indicator on position number 12. This is inherited by the past of the watch. You see the font of the numerals, very, very precise, very pure, very legible, no distraction, no fancy crap at all. Simple as it gets. What I really like is the form of the hands here. Very big and very massive and very, in a way, drastic. And yeah, and this gives the watch, of course, its own appeal. The case, as you can see, is brushed. You see some dings and dangs here. This is a used watch. This is not a new watch. Brushed case. The crystal is sapphire, so very modern components in this watch. The case back is interesting because you see all those informations you could see on the historic case backs of those watches. So there is the B-Uhr for Beobachtungsuhr. There is the manufacturer's Stowa, model number, movement number, everything. And so this is very tooly as well. It's like the backside of a piece of machinery, really, and not the backside of a piece of jewelry. And yeah, I really like this. Inside ticks an ETA. This is the ETA 2824-2. So absolutely normal, modern, good working movement. Very precise, can be very precise if it's regulated. Often it's not. And it looks, yeah, let's be frank, it looks pretty normal. I mean, you have a little bit of decoration here, but overall not super exciting. But the rotor, of course, here is the piece of distinction. Another very characteristic piece is the onion crown. This was convenient if you have gloves on in an airplane, then you could wind the watch without problems, because this is the reason for this big crown. And so overall, very good looking, very unique timepiece, But now let's operate it. I mean, operating 2824-2 is not very special. But I want to show you something which I don't like. And they do this often, not only Stowa or other brands as well. You have position number 2. And there you can set the hands. And why I've set position number 2, because there's a position number 1. And this doesn't work there because there's no date. The position 1 normally is for the date. This watch comes without a date. And so, yeah, there is no sense to let the position number 1 in the movement, but of course they wanted to cut costs, and so there is still a position 1. Not a big drama, but every time I see this, I don't like it. What I really like here is this massive strap. I mean, look at this. Look at those rivets here. Wow. Riveted together, thick leather straps riveted together, plus this very substantial stitching here. The strap is relatively long. I'm in the last hole here with my 17 centimeter wrist, and yeah, but it feels pretty good. Feels pretty good on the wrist, I must tell you. And here you can see those this metal stay, leather stay, and so yeah, really impressive strap is that thing. And you can wear them, of course, with NATO. Wait a second, in the box there was a NATO. I can show you this. And of course this would look awesome as well. I mean, not exactly with a suit, right? But if you are in khaki and jeans and t-shirt, this could be an awesome combination with this type of NATO strap here. Okay, let's put it on the wrist. Here it is. 17 centimeter wrist, 40 millimeters watch, and looks okay. Looks pretty good, to be frank. Looks pretty good. I mean, this is not a dress watch. This is a very tight tool watch, and I like the look on my arm. I really like the look. You can see here that this is a massive strap, right? I'm in the last hole, and this rivets here. And, very cool. Very cool timepiece. This watch retails at 1,000 euro, which is roughly 1,100 US dollars. And this is one of the few watches which I consider worth the money, because it's special. It's special, it's made with high-tech ingredients. You have sapphire, you have this brushed metal, you have superluminova, you have a good working ETA in it. You have this outstanding strap, you have the metal box, the packaging and everything. And this for 1,000 euros in my eyes is a really reasonable price. Okay, welcome back, and now let's speak about the moral problem, the moral issue. Every time I present something like that on Caseback Watches, I receive emails and some sort of complaints that this can be disturbing for descendants of the victims of World War II, of course. And one guy said that I'm dodging around those topics, and of course I don't want to dodge anything. And so let's face it here. If you want to put it drastically, wearing this watch is the same thing like wearing a Wehrmacht helmet on your head or the insignia of the SS on your collar. So if you want to put it drastically, then this is an homage for World War II, and I completely understand that this is at least difficult for some people. But what to do now? I think we agree that we from time to time want those timepieces on the wrist. I want to wear this a few days at least. And so I need a solution, and the solution from me is think about the aspects, the implications. And I will present you now 3 aspects to take into consideration when wearing this watch or other similar watches. The first is the historic aspect. This could be a solution, right? People then say, well, World War II is long gone. We see it as a historic event, and we all know that history's every time had its dark side and the bright side. And so this is pretty normal. If we take this in consideration, if we are informed about that, there is no problem anymore. And we can be even more precise. I've read once that historians consider an event historic when there are 3 generations between us nowadays and the event. And of course then we have a problem with World War II because there are no 3 generations between us. I mean, if you take me as an example, from my demographics, I'm very normal. I'm 43 years old, I have 2 kids, I live in Germany, so pretty normal. But my father survived the bombardment of Leipzig in 1945 as a 5-year-old kid. And I wouldn't say that he is shell-shocked, but I think under some circumstances and in some situations you can see there is still something in his psychology. And during this age, I mean 5-year-olds, there are the fundaments of your character will be laid in those months and years. And so I'm pretty sure that an event like sitting in a bunker and death and destruction around you as a small child will affect your life and will affect your family. And so I completely understand when the descendants of victims in, let's say, Rotterdam, Stalingrad, Coventry and all other cities attacked by the Luftwaffe feel uncomfortable. Okay, second solution or second aspect is the technical standpoint. We men, we have strong weakness to to love the technical aspect of a product, of an item, of a time. I mean, I've seen Das Boot, the new series, The Boat, on Sky 2 weeks ago. Oh, marvelous. It's a really, really great series, and it shows the history around the resistance and, of course, the naval warfare with U-boats. And I was totally fascinated by, of course, the part with the boat. Fascinated by the thing, by the boat, by the machinery, by the technology. It's a fascinating series, big recommendation, by the way. And so this is the technical standpoint to differentiate the thing from the ideology. The problem is you can't go too far with that. And then you have those documentaries on YouTube about the war and everything, about every theater, about years in human history. And somebody says then, well, the bomber in minute 3:12 isn't the model which was used by that squad, so the documentary in total is rubbish. And such comments are then not about the bomber, they are about a very narrow view. A view who is too narrow for the subject. And of course this is not what you want, I think. And the third aspect, or the third solution, if it is a solution, is dieselpunk. It's very sorry, but it's dieselpunk. Then you go even further. You don't see World War II and the time around it as a historic event. you see it as only the influence for a phenomenon in pop culture. And then the Flieger watch is some sort of comic item. And I'm not free of this. I mean, this is childish. Yes, it is. It is childish, but I'm not free of this. Every time I see an artwork in the style of diesel punk, then then I'm very happy to see it. And I have a Pinterest account which is loaded with diesel punk. And so it's a great style in my eyes. Completely naive, but sometimes you need some naivety. I don't know how to say this in your life, I think. But the conclusion here for me is that I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. The only thing I try to do is from time to time listen to the other side and listen to people who feel disturbed. Why not? I mean, why not take this in consideration? Why not give it a second thought? And I mean, we're pretty normal, right? I mean, if I see my decisions and my opinions from 10 years ago, sometimes I think, goodness. And so I think from time to time it's really good to see the other side, and maybe there's an aspect which is correct. Okay, that's all. If you want, join me on Instagram, please. I show there, of course, watches, but also things like the Diesel Punk Executive Bag and other projects I have here. And maybe I should change this and show a little bit more on the channel. What do you think? Give me your opinion, please. If you want more topic. People ask me how to buy a suit and related topic around style and crafts, and yeah, maybe this is a good idea, but I'm not sure, to be frank, and so I'd like to hear your opinion about that. And now let me thank you very much for your attention, and maybe until next time.